Welcome to the Our Team Podcast, powered by eXp Realty. Are you an agent looking to level up? Are you someone looking to buy or sell real estate? Fantastic. This is the show for you.
Hey guys, welcome to the Our Team Podcast. We're honored today to have a really special hour. My wife, Lori Ann Hour.
Hey guys.
Well, this isn't going to be an hour.
Oh,
These are
good.
These are usually 15, 20-minute podcasts.
All right.
Can you imagine if the Our Team Podcast means they're an hour every time? That'd be more like a Joe Rogan podcast.
Yeah.
So we don't always get to see you because you're usually kind of afraid of being on camera.
I don't like camera.
I know. We do cameras here because we find that more people watch the podcast than just listen to it. So that's why we have, multi-camera shoot and all that kind of stuff because it's pretty pro.
Because you geek out on it.
We geek out on that kind of stuff. I've always, that about me. I've always kind of geeked out on the whole video thing and all of that. I think it's important. And the team is on board because they're all shooting reels and doing all kinds of stuff with their social media. Who else recently started doing some reels?
Might have been me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's definitely you, and they're really cute. I think the more you do it, sweetheart, you're just going to be like, oh, I can't believe it took me so long to be doing these things,
It's a learning process.
But if you remember, you have so much knowledge in this industry, you have so much to give that you're doing the public a disservice by not being out there giving them, right?
You're cute. So
I am cute.
Let's get started.
In the last episode?
Yeah, episode.
I was actually called handsome.
Oh.
Yeah, in the last episode. You'll see it. You'll hear it. Okay. I was. So what do you mean let's start? We already started. This is how you podcast.
Did you call yourself handsome?
I think Luke called me handsome. Yeah.
Luke.
Gabe and Luke, we did a podcast with them. It was really cool. I mean, fantastic. So here's why I dragged you on here today.
Okay.
And it didn't take that much dragging. I appreciate you being here, sweetheart, because I know you
raised my hand. I said I'll do it.
Yeah. And you guys were going to see a lot more of her because she's promised the team that she's going to be a lot more active in these types of things. So I'm excited about that.
Okie dokie.
All right. There is no doubt that you are the indisputable champion of working with buyers. You're an incredible listing agent, but you have a real knack for working with buyers and getting them to a place where they pull the trigger. And it's not just slick sales. You actually are really good at helping them see the whole picture, helping them remember their why, showing them properties that are completely relevant to what they're searching for.
Right.
You know exactly what they're looking for, and you do the necessary homework to find out what that is, and then you just really bring it.
I think it's just kind of automatic.
It's not automatic. It might be for you now.
Well, for me, it's just automatic. I mean, you have to listen to what they're saying, and you just have to not be afraid of your client, right? I think that's the biggest obstacle for most agents. They're afraid to advise and educate their client. They're only listening and doing what the client tells them. And I'm not going to be a puppet. I want to go ahead and say, you sent me 50 properties. Do you really want to go tour 50 properties? You want to narrow these down, and let's talk about it. You pulled 3 and 4 bedrooms, 1,500 square feet, 3,200 square feet. What's the best return on your investment? Let's get rid of the 16, 17, 18. Let's do 2,800 square feet and above and still stay in your price point. Right. And just helping them see, look on the map and make sure it's not on a busy road. And, now looking at upgrades and your build. And I think we were going to talk a little bit about resale and new build.
That's right. That's a big part of it because that just recently happened. You were working with some clients that really thought they wanted to buy a certain price range in a certain neighborhood and and you literally transformed them and helped them see a much bigger picture.
Well, the wife was on board the whole time, so her and I
would
talk.
For the new build.
Yeah. So we would talk all day while the husband's at work, and just trying to come up with a plan on how we're going to talk to him. And she was afraid that he was, we found her home, we found their home, and he just was pretty much a hard no. And so I said, okay, let's just talk about this. So he said, well, what if the market crashes, Lorianne? And I said, okay, that's fair. Market's not going to crash, but let's just use your analogy. Market's going to crash. Doom and gloom. You want to buy a $395 home that's 50 years older than the brand new build? Or can we just pay $429 for a brand new home and you get all your closing costs covered? I negotiated blinds, washer, dryer, refrigerator, and LVP flooring.
Yeah.
They got upgraded flooring.
Yeah.
You know?
That's awesome.
So,
So in that you were saying, look, if the market does crash and we all get stuck in our houses for a while, you want to be stuck in a 50-year-old house that needs a lot of work, or enjoy this brand new home.
that's exactly what I told him.
If the market crashes, you can still afford the payment.
Right.
Just write it out. Write it out in a nicer home.
Right. And so something funny happened, and only because I've built rapport, and this is like a referral to us, you
Yeah.
know, fifth family member that comes to us. And we were outside and they were chit-chatting with the sales rep, and, you know, we're discussing just what is your debt? What is your fear? You don't have a mortgage payment. You don't have one car payment. But the wife had a car payment. And
Yeah.
I said, how much is your car payment? And she goes, with insurance and everything, it's $700. I said, get rid of the car.
You told them to get rid of their car?
If push come to shove and the market shifted the way they thought it was going to shift, the
Oh, I see
first
what
thing
you
you
mean.
get rid of is the
Yeah,
car.
exactly.
You work from home. You don't need that bougie car. You should just seen the husband look at me. He's like, oh, yeah, get rid of your car.
Yeah, he's right. You probably didn't want that car anyway.
Oh, exactly.
That's funny.
So anyways,
But that speaks to you just taking control of it. What we're really talking about here,
Mm-hmm.
without saying it because it sounds rude, it's buyer control. If you're a
Right.
really good real estate agent, then as bad as it sounds, you need to learn how to control the sales environment the whole time.
Because you know the process. See, they don't know the ins and outs of it. They don't. We think that I think a lot of newer agents. Let's just talk newer agents.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that our newer agents think that the buyers know everything and they know
Right.
nothing.
That's right.
And so they only know what they hear on the news. So you have to change their narrative. You have to change their fear, and you paint out a picture for them. You send them home. You let them analyze it. And then after we went to the new build, there's no way you could go back and look at a home
Yeah.
in Hemet that's 3 bedrooms, old dingy flooring, walls,
Yeah.
not to mention old windows, old roof, shingle roof, right? So, I mean, they took the plunge, and as soon as they did, huge blessing, they both got a raise.
Yeah.
Within the same week.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, so they're really excited. But I mean,
So can you promise that if you buy a home with us
yeah,
and spend a little more than you're comfortable with, you'll get a raise?
yeah, that'd be great. Can I have a raise?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind getting raised, to be honest with you. We don't. Real estate agents do get raises along the way
Yeah.
because home values go up. You know, so we're paid
True.
a percentage of the close. So I mean, you know, but
True.
it's been tougher with lower commissions and
Right.
stuff like that. But we're committed to writing it out, and we put our clients first, and that's kind of it is what it is.
Right.
Um,
So with going back to the topic, so new build, resale, right? A couple of years ago, new build really wasn't the option. We couldn't negotiate like we can negotiate right now. And I forgot to mention they bought their rate down.
Wow.
So they bought their rate down, blinds, washer, dryer, refrigerator, upgraded flooring. I mean, that's like a $45,000 package.
That's incredible.
Yeah. So, but before, back in the day when we're looking, let's just go a couple years ago when we're toying with resale and new build. And I can flip that on when I couldn't get washer, dryer, refrigerator, blinds, not to mention no upgrades and no backyard.
Wow.
So then when you go on, you flip that around, you flip that coin over, it would be better to get a 2015 year built home, right? 16, 17, or 18
Yeah.
with the things already done. And then so, we've had to flip that scenario around.
Yeah.
So it's just giving them the information, knowing what you know. If you don't know it, lock arms with somebody that does know it.
Right.
Be confident with your delivery And I think it's just all of a sudden they feel really comfortable because you're speaking with
Authority.
Totally. You're speaking with authority. I remember back in the day when, well, I always have people rate their homes. I've been doing that for 20 years, and all of a sudden it's a thing with Tom Ferry.
Right.
So I think he's listening to me.
He's listening to our podcast.
He's listening to me.
Yeah.
So anyways, I have him rate the houses, and I went bold. This was like probably 13, 14 years ago, and I said, so you probably don't want me to rate the house, right? And they said, oh, no, your rating's the most important rating. And at that point, I really felt they empowered me. I mean, I didn't realize how important my opinion was.
Yeah.
Because I live here. I've lived here for 30 years,
Yeah.
and I know the neighborhoods inside and out.
Oh, yeah.
And they took that to heart. That meant a lot to them.
I think when you're working with a newer buyer, someone that maybe has only purchased one or maybe their second home, they're going to respect what you say pretty early on in the relationship because they know you have a lot of experience.
Right.
But when you're working with somebody that's purchased multiple homes, sold multiple homes, lived in different regions, and they come across like, look, I really don't need your opinion. We already know what we want. We sent you the home from Zillow. You're just opening the door for us. Those are a little harder to crack. But after working with you, someone like you, for say 3 or 4 showings, multiple conversations, you start showing them without even trying that
Right.
you bring a ton of value in that transaction.
Right.
Then they get to the point where they're just like, wow, we really should pay attention to what she's saying.
So I appreciate what you said about a more seasoned, let's call it more seasoned buyer, right? Like bought 5, 6, 7 homes. Well,
Yeah.
I've worked with investors that have bought hundreds of homes.
and hundreds, yeah.
So I'm not worried about that person that's bought 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I don't care if they bought 8 homes. They still don't have more knowledge than I do
That's
in
right.
this valley.
Yeah.
And when you start communicating with them and you help open up their eyes of things that, if you own other homes in other states, it's not like it is
Right.
in Riverside, California.
Yeah.
Everything's different. The contracts are different. The negotiations different. Escrows versus title companies, doing your closing, being part of your closing team.
Yeah.
So I'm not worried about a more seasoned buyer
Right.
because we've sold thousands of homes.
I know if you
We've
really
sold
boil it
thousands
down,
of homes, so
yeah.
they're on 8. Okay, well they got a while to catch up.
Yeah, so if you have a buyer that says, "Look, lady, I don't really need your opinion here because this is my 15th house," you could say, "Well, you have a long way to catch up because I've been a part of well over 1,000 transactions in multiple different markets, in multiple different micro markets, right?"
Right.
So,
So you work together as a team
Yeah,
with
exactly.
the buyer. You guys are team. You're just really building rapport. You're building trust. You're learning your buyer's wants and needs. And a lot of times, you have to really get your clients to talk
Yeah.
in front of you because they don't talk at home.
Yeah.
And the husband didn't even know that the wife was talking to me all day long, right, via text. So I
Right.
don't have time to talk to somebody all day long.
Yeah.
But we were communicating via text all day long. And I think we were building rapport. I was getting to know her. And then she said, you have to pick up the phone tonight at 5:30 and call Austin and talk to him like you and I've talked all day. I go, I'd be happy to.
Yeah.
And he was a hard no, and he quickly shifted
Yeah.
to I had no idea. And I just peeled the layers, right?
Yeah.
Help him really see. I mean, I wasn't,
I heard you doing that because I
Yeah.
was in the room when you were talking to them, and I was like, "Wow, she's really working her mojo right now."
you're not selling. I think if agents can realize they're not selling.
Yeah, advising, right?
I'm passionate about what I believe in. I'm passionate about helping. I can hardly wait to give this young couple keys.
Yeah.
And they're already excited about decorating
Yeah.
and all these plans. And, every time we buy a house, it's super exciting. So if people can
Love
just
it.
put themselves back in the shoes of being a buyer,
Yeah.
it's emotional, it's exciting, it's stressful. Same with sellers, I mean, it is. It's a
the
big deal.
the main reason why we wanted to talk about this
Mm-hmm.
and wanted to bring you in on this is because, and it might seem a little late in this podcast for me to bring this up because all of this has been valuable, but to coagulate a little bit of what we've been talking about, the point that the reason why this is important is a lot of agents are taught contracts. A lot of agents are taught scripts for their phone calls. They're taught all kinds of things about the process, right? It's amazing to me how few agents actually know how to show homes.
Yeah.
How to show you're not just a door opener.
Right.
And if you are, you're going to fail. You're going to fail.
Well, and you're going to have them out for 6 months because you're not even paying attention, and you're
Oh,
letting them.
that's-
You're letting them lead you. You know,
Yeah.
I don't want to be led. I want
Yeah.
to be. I want to be the leader. You know, I've always told people that we're communicating with. I know nothing about cars. You love the Mercedes. I love Mercedes, and every time I go onto the car dealership, I don't know nothing about the car. But that salesman always knew me, what I liked and what I didn't like, and he
Right.
never forgot. And he always led me, and I trusted him.
Yeah.
No, hands down.
We speak about him like he passed away, but he just got out of the business.
He retired.
Sean, if you're listening, we love you and we miss you.
Yeah,
Best
totally.
Mercedes dealer in the world, or sales guy. in the
Yeah,
world.
we'll send this to him.
Yeah, we will.
What else
So-
do you want to talk about?
I wanted to unpack this just a little bit more because this is where people are really, based on the title of this podcast, this is what I'm hoping newer agents will really gleam onto. I want to ask you a couple questions regarding, like, how do you do it when you are working with the buyer? We already know that if it's a contest of who gets them into escrow first, you're going to win every time.
Right.
It is how it is.
15 days max.
Yeah, right.
I had him out 2 days.
I know. and so imagine if you could be an agent where every time you worked with a buyer, and we're talking about a buyer who has at least 70% motivation, they're ready to go. You know, they're not, within 70 to 100% range, they're ready. And if you had the choice to have that person in escrow in 2 weeks versus 4 months, which would you choose? 2 weeks, right? Because then you can get that one under contract. You can work with another buyer, get that one in contract. You can build a better pipeline of business if you're not stuck in the car or stuck showing properties for 6 months.
Right.
And there are times when it's the buyer. It's all 100% the buyer, and there's nothing you can do to change that. And it's going to be a 4 to 6 month process.
Right.
But it doesn't have to be if you have certain knowledge
Right.
and skills in showing property and working with a client, then you can do it much quicker like you do. And that's what I really wanted to unpack today. So
if I were a new agent and I would hear what you're saying right now, I hear that we're trying to push them along into escrow, but you're really not. What you're doing is you're cutting the fat.
Right.
Right. So you've got this beautiful steak and you want it to be nice and tender on the inside. This could be probably the wrong analogy, but you're cutting off all the fat. And
you're
then
removing the distractions.
There you go. And then you wrap it with bacon.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Now you're speaking my love language.
Yeah.
Right now,
So you're not pushing them along. You're helping them see the whole picture. Because remember, they're coming in with blinders on.
Right.
They only know what they've been told. So what they hear is what they believe. But if you start showing them, and you just you're weighing out. So it's like going to, I don't know, maybe a jewelry store, and you're looking at jewelry and. You're looking at pricing. It seems like people go for price all the time, but what about the quality of the
Right.
diamond?
Yeah.
Right? So now you want to go for quality. So I think I wouldn't know that right off the bat, nor would you. And so the jeweler is teaching us about the quality of the diamond, not so much the size.
Right.
So when somebody comes to you and they give you a price point and they give you bed bath square footage, and you cannot meet that with if you're in the MLS 3 times a day, that property's not out there. So you have to show them what actually is out there. So remember back when somebody would give us a price point, and it's they want a $450,000 house.
Property, yeah.
And it's actually what you're going to find is a $595. So we used to send the $595, everything that they're looking for, and the $450. They don't want that. That's trash. So now that you can't afford the $595, and you're starting Myriad Temecula, let's get you to Hemet. Let's stay there for 2 years. Let's take our equity and let's move this way.
Right.
So it's like
Or if they started in Temecula, you take them to, say, Menifee, right? Same
You can
concept.
You would just have to see where you can find that house,
Right.
or you send them back home
Yeah.
and you tell them to reevaluate their wants and needs.
Yeah, and so that's the one thing you really get to know their wants and needs. You're very good at that. But then when you're showing them property, now you've got a few. So first of all, you are to answer the question on how you get them into escrow quicker. Is you're removing as many distractions as possible.
That's right.
If they want to see 50 properties, you already know that they have no.
There's no
vision.
There's no 50 properties that actually all meet the same criteria
right.
of their wants and needs. So
That's right.
Now
they don't even know what they want if they've sent you
That's-
50 properties, because there's no way there's 50 properties that meet their needs. So that's the first thing,
most
cutting
buyers
that fat.
don't know what they want that matches up with the price point. So that's a big deal. And then you look at homes to where it meets all their needs, but it needs upgraded flooring and paint.
Right.
So you do that later on, right?
Yeah.
Get the bones, get the size,
Yeah.
get the location, and those are the things you can change. You can't change the size of the house. I mean, it's going to cost you a lot of money if you're going to go ahead and do construction and you're
Yeah.
adding on, which
Right.
is permits, et cetera, et cetera. And I think there's one thing we didn't touch on, and that is taxes and HOA.
Right.
So
If you know they can't afford that, then just establish that early so that, again, you're not wasting time. You're filtering out those homes. You have to know so much about the process
right,
that you can tell them, look, I know you love these homes over here, but here's why we have to avoid those. Because even though they appear to be in your price range, by the time you add the HOA and the higher taxes of that region into the equation, you're priced out.
that's right. And if they're visual, then you can just send them, a price sheet breakdown
Right.
with the payment, and then they're going to be like, okay, well, I certainly can't do 2,800, but I'm comfortable at 24.
Right.
Okay, so we're going to reverse engineer it. We're going to work backwards, right? So
But
now
see
we're going to look.
But see what you're doing. You're getting that buyer educated, and you're speeding up the process, because you're not going to waste 2 or 3 weeks or a month looking at homes, not realizing, they can't afford that.
We can create our own traffic. We can create our own traffic jam.
Yeah.
Like, get those cars.
Get it out of there.
Get it out of the way.
Right.
And help them see it, and they want to see it. They want to have home ownership sooner. They
Right.
don't want to be dragging around. You're going to lose your buyer.
Right.
Because you'll lose them to me.
So-
or you'll lose them to somebody else that
If you lose them to her, it's going to be a quick.
They walk into my open house. Sorry, Charlie.
That's right. So removing all those distractions, figuring out exactly what they can afford, so that you're only showing them really relevant homes. Now, all of that's out of the way. Now,
Okay.
So now you're at the house.
Yeah.
You get them to talk. One of the things you do very well is
Yeah.
you're working with a couple, or even just a solo act.
Yeah.
You get them to talk so that you can really continue to understand. It's not just price. It could be some other subtle nuances that are important to them.
Yeah.
So,
So
you're
when
getting them to rate the home.
Right. When you're showing property and the buyer's being really quiet, they're being reserved, right? They're holding everything to themselves really close and dear.
Yeah.
And I just let them know. I said, I can hear you. I know there's a lot going on in your head, but you actually have to say it out loud.
You got to use your words.
Got to use your words. I can't hear you. So let's just
Yeah.
go through the house. Let's talk about it. I start talking about it. Then I ask them questions. I ask a lot of questions. And then I also tell my buyers, if we're driving through I want you to look at the neighborhood. If you don't like the neighborhood, just, roll down your window and say next one. And so we
Right.
go to the next one. If you don't like the inside, it's not
Yeah.
because we're in a hurry. But buyers don't want to waste their time. But then you have that one guy that just wants to look at everything. He hates the house from
But
the
he
second
still
he
wants
opens the
to
door.
see everything.
Everything. That's a little bit irritating.
If Eric Goslin is listening to this
Yeah.
right now,
That would be Eric.
Oh
He
my
already
gosh.
knows it's a no.
we pull up and he's like, "Bro, I would never buy this home." I said,
Right.
"Okay, let's get here." No, bro, let's go look at it.
That's right.
And we're there for an hour looking at a house he's never
gonna
going to
buy.
buy. I love
So-
you, Eric.
So, also looking at the homes, I like to open up the cabinets, the stoves. I like to bring attention to how clean things are and or how dirty they are.
Yeah.
Look up into the ceilings to see if you see any discoloration. So you already know up front that they've already had a water leak or a toilet leak or the laundry's upstairs and,
Again,
you can
helping
see
them
the ceiling.
eliminate homes, right?
That's right.
Helping them. Let's go.
Yeah,
So
and there's
it's-
another thing I do is when I'm looking at homes, I tell them for resale. It's very important. If you're in a particular price point that can get you a 3-car garage, go for 3. Don't even look at a 2. And if you're doing 4 bedrooms, 1 downstairs is a must. All bedrooms upstairs is typically, I think, less than 5% people want all bedrooms upstairs. They usually
Definitely.
want at least 1 downstairs. So when you start sharing those things with them, they're not going to send you homes that all the bedrooms are up, or you're going to filter them out and you're going to send them to them. Right?
Yep. Again, that's what we're trying to explain to, agents that are working with buyers, is that if you do these things, if you really get them to talk, if you show them the most relevant properties, if you help them eliminate the bad ones and really coach them and advise them along the way,
Right.
then you can get to writing offers much quicker. And the agents that don't know how to do that will end up just going, well, whatever you think. Okay,
Yeah.
you want, okay, those are another 40 properties? Sure, I'll show you those. If you're working with a buyer who's sending you 20 properties a week to make appointments for, they don't even know what they want.
There's no buyer control. There's,
Right.
And it's not like you're trying to control them.
Right.
I mean, buyer control it's actually, we should come up with a different adjective, but it's just maybe buyer awareness.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I like buyer control. I think that.
I know you do.
If I could just say what Tom Cruise said one time in a movie,
Yeah.
help me help you.
There you go.
Right? Help me help you. I need to know everything. And if they're not coming out and giving you all those nuggets, then you have to be as good as you to be able to pull that stuff out of them without being rude, So that's the whole thing. I think rating the properties at each property is very important. How does this one compare to the one we just saw?
Right.
What do you think? What do you think? Go to the next one. How does this one now compare to this one and this one? Make sure they're writing notes, even if they don't want to.
Yeah, and they're eliminating them. And
That's it.
And I told them, I said, okay, so we're going to see. I'm not going to show 10 houses.
Right.
That's just ridiculous. We'll see. I always I've changed it to where I want you to send me your top 6. So now I didn't eliminate them. They did.
Right. Yeah. And when you're at the property and they say, oh, this is on a scale of 1 to 7, this is a 2. Okay, so why is it a 2? Oh, because of this and that. So now okay,
right.
we're not looking at this and that anymore. So
Right.
you've just now eliminated the whole, we're not going to even go there anymore. So
Right,
you're taking this big, huge list and you're narrowing it to something that they're really going to connect with. And that's skill. You're doing
Right.
that through skill.
You're eliminating first, not just area, you're eliminating cities, then you're eliminating neighborhoods,
Yep.
and some buyers will eliminate certain builders,
Right.
which we won't mention.
Yeah, no, we won't. And then it's just a matter of, making sure that when you've got them focused on, really specific needs now. Then if that house is out there, they're going to want to write on it because they're going to know that you've helped them sort and sift through all the other stuff, cut away all the distractions.
Right.
And then it's just very easy for them to have that sense of, well, this really is the only one out here right now that checks every single box. Because
And then so I would say to them, so I'm just say Brian. I would say, Brian, so you say this is the only one. So are you going to be excited the day that I come to meet you at the house and I hand you the keys and you open the door? Do you feel butterflies? Are you super excited and you can imagine yourselves making this your home?
if it's handing me the keys, I'd be pretty excited about it.
If the answer is not yes,
Yes.
we keep on looking.
Right.
Because I don't want them to I don't want them
Yeah.
to settle.
Yeah.
See, you're helping them get to where they want to go.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to let a buyer settle
Right.
unless that's absolutely
Yeah, another good question to ask somebody if they're wanting to make an offer on a property and they want to kind of lowball a little bit. You
Yeah.
got to ask them now if you miss out on this property, for $5,000 you missed out on it. Are you
Right.
going to be okay with that? If they say
Right.
oh, no, then they're not where they need to be. But if they say oh yeah, for $5,000, so that they didn't love it enough.
right. And so how I like to say that is, wouldn't you like to be the one to say no instead of somebody already saying no to you? No, thank you. I've already received offers while you guys are thinking about it. Remember,
Right.
you have 17 days to think about it with all those timelines.
Right.
So let's not miss out let's go ahead and, it's going to cost you your home inspection. That's the other thing I talk about while I'm showing property. I talk about the process the entire time.
Right.
Hey guys, don't worry about that. We're going to get a home inspection. It's going to cost you about $450, right?
Exactly.
And all the ins and outs of the house. I mean, we can't see in the walls, but you talk about that. You talk about the deposit. You talk about when, just the whole process, which that's probably going to be another
Episode.
podcast. But you talk about you're going to be reached by a third party, an escrow company that's going to send you private wiring instructions for your deposit. You have to have that within 3 days. So they're not going to say, oh my God, I had no idea. I don't have $3,000 in my bank.
Right.
We're going to have to hold this process for 6 weeks until I save $3,000 just to have a deposit.
Right.
See, all of that is just putting it right up front.
And it comes to the experience that you have, and it comes to just knowing how to just keep it moving along, it moving along. And that's why usually when you start to work with a buyer, it doesn't take long at all for you to have them in escrow. And I just need those agents that are newer, that are listening to this, to know that you can actually up your game so that the buyers that you are working with, you can have them in escrow quicker. And it's not because you're forcing them to buy something that they don't want to buy. That's not being a good agent. But it's that you're so good that you know how to eliminate all the garbage. You know.
What's the most important thing in a relationship?
Communication.
That's right. So if you're not communicating
Was that a test that I do?
You did get it. So if you're not communicating, then they absolutely have no idea what you're thinking or even what the process is.
Right.
So if you don't communicate, so when you I don't have to worry if you're upset at me for a month.
No,
right?
I tell you instantly.
Right. So anyways, you need to tell your buyers the things that they need to know that they're absolutely unaware of. Even if they know it, it's going to trigger, oh yeah, I remember that. But that escrow was 5 years ago, and things aren't done like they were 5 years ago.
Things change, yep. Yeah, if you're working with a buyer that says, I want to go and buy into this community, you don't say, no, you don't, because the taxes are so high. You say, oh, that's awesome. I love that community too. It's beautiful. Just want to make you aware. I'm sure you are.
Right.
But the taxes over there are about 2.5%.
And you know what they're going to say? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Because our buyers are coming from mostly
San Diego.
out of state, San Diego, Orange County, where the taxes are lower, right?
Yeah.
So you need to actually have a podcast on why, about taxes and Belarus and all that.
We should do that.
No,
we actually should do that.
You should do that.
Yeah. I can get all numbery and put charts and graphs
You're
like
the
right
Mr.
here.
Belarus guy.
I like to figure it out because people will say, oh yeah, you ask most listing agents, do you know what the taxes are here? They'd say, oh, it's 1%. Well, yeah, that's the base tax is about 1.123.
Yeah.
But when you incorporate those assessments, those special assessments that never go away, and they just, when you, based on the purchase price, what do you think it's going to be here? Oh, 1%? They don't know.
Right.
So you have to know how to figure that out so you can explain to your buyer, look, you're going to buy this home for $600,000, but I just need you to know your taxes are going to be $1,000 a month.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be $12,000 a year to own this home because 1% on the purchase price, but plus there's another $6,000 in fixed assessment. So in that situation, the taxes on that property are literally 2%, slightly higher. So if you can afford that and you're building that into your financial plan, great. But if you're not, then that's going to be an escrow that's going to quickly fall apart, and you're back to the drawing board again.
Right.
It's if you know all those things going in.
It's called communication.
Yeah, communication, knowledge.
While I'm listening to you talk, I thought of something else that, because it's so automatic, I don't even realize what I'm doing. Yeah. But when I open up the door and start communicating, I take charge of that house, right? I take ownership of that house, and I take ownership of showing the property. You don't let your clients just run off whichever way, right?
Yeah.
Because you don't know what they're looking at. You don't know what they're thinking, and you can't communicate. So if you keep everybody together,
you can talk about each space.
You can talk about each space, and then the husband and wife are talking, and they get to know what their spouse's likes or dislikes are, right off the bat.
That's right.
You cannot let your clients roam through the house without you. You need to be the leader.
Right. I like that. Taking control. I think a good agent has control the whole time. When you answer the phone, you're using scripts and you're using communication techniques that make sure that you remain in control of the conversation. And then
Right.
when you're and you're doing that for them too,
Right.
Because you're not wasting time. You're getting to the point, So from the first phone call to taking control of the properties you're going to see, taking control of what their real wants and needs are, taking control of whether or not they're pre-approved and who are they pre-approved by and how long has that pre-approval been done,
Right.
How long ago? Because if it's 6 months old, things are way different now. There's
Right.
all those things. When you have control and you just kind of wrap it up into buyer control, everyone has a better experience. And
Right.
and you walk away as an agent feeling like, wow, I really helped them and I did it quickly. And they tell all their friends about you because you just got to the point and you got it done and you were amazing all the way through. So
Yeah.
anyway, I hope
I appreciate that.
anyone listening to this can, kind of, we just did a free flow kind of chit chat about the whole thing, but I'm sure there's agents out there and even buyers that will hear this and go, I can totally relate. So
Yeah, there's good
yeah.
nuggets.
If you're one of those, then let us know. Thank you so much for joining me on this.
You're welcome, honey.
I mean, it's the Our Team
Thanks for my
podcast.
special headgear.
Both hours on the Our Team podcast, and it wasn't even 2 hours long.
No.
That's good. Thank you guys for joining us. We will catch you on the next one.
Bye.
Hey, wait, before you go, would you do us a favor? If you found any value in this content, would you please like and subscribe to it? Maybe even leave a comment. It really helps us out.